So a female pastor from Regina, an Anglican priest named Cheryl Toth, had a media stunt this week, a political stunt. She put on a Muslim hijab, a headscarf, and walked around campus, and then she called up the CBC to tell them all about it, and they called it national news. Here, take a quick look.
I just began to think about what it must be like for Muslim women who are choosing to wear hijab or niqab or a burqa and having that question for all kinds of reasons and associated with terrorism or somehow undermining Canadian values, which I disagree with. It was to put the scarf on so that...
The temporary transformation hit home with Toth. She was ordained in the 1980s before it was common for a woman. And she says she'll now speak up if she hears fear-mongering or stereotyping of Muslims.
Now, obviously, this is a contrived gimmick, a political stunt to embarrass the Conservatives. The CBC are in full campaign mode. They have Harper derangement syndrome. They hate the Conservatives. They'll run absolutely anything as news that they think embarrasses Stephen Harper. But put the CBC's anti-Harper bias aside. Let's examine this story on its own merits. First of all, this media hound from Regina, she wore a hijab. That's a little scarf. She didn't wear the niqab, the full face mask, that full chastity belt for the face that radical Islam imposes on women. No one that I know of in politics or even the media is calling on banning headscarves that show the face. We're talking about the full dehumanizing, obliterating niqabs, the things that look like ninjas or balaclavas. So this Anglican cleric was making a fake protest about something that's not a real issue. She was crying wolf. Either she's so uninformed that she doesn't know the difference between a hijab, just a scarf, and the niqab, the full ninja, or she's a trickster trying to mislead people into thinking that Stephen Harper would ban a simple headscarf. Either way, she's an embarrassment to herself and the CBC that went along with it. I'd actually like to see this Anglican wear a niqab for a day, a whole day. I'd like to see what she says about it afterwards, how itchy it is, how it feels to rebreathe your own air like wearing a scarf right over your nose and mouth for 12 hours. I'd like to see her report on how claustrophobic it made her feel, but most of all, how dehumanizing it is for her to be in a one-person cage, a living person's body in a dead person's body bag. I think she should actually go back and do her stunt correctly in a full niqab. That would be interesting and less deceptive. One last point. Toth is an Anglican priest. She was ordained as clergy decades ago when it was actually rare in Canada, but there's nothing rare about women clergy in many Protestant denominations today. Plenty of women rabbis too in Jewish synagogues. It's no biggie. How many women are Muslim clerics, Muslim imams though? Well, none, of course. It's just not allowed, of course. Women aren't allowed to do many things in radical Islam, not allowed to show their face, not allowed to drive in places like Saudi Arabia, not allowed to have their testimony taken at face value in Sharia court. In Sharia law, it takes 2 women witnesses to equal 1 male witness. Same thing with inheritance. Women aren't equal to men. Women can be stoned for the crime of adultery, which includes the crime of being raped. It's the woman's fault. So here in Regina, we have a doddering old Baby Boomer Anglican who thought she'd prove how righteous and liberal she is by wearing a headscarf. She's so courageous, isn't she? Not courageous enough to wear a niqab all day, not courageous enough to actually stand up for Muslim women's equality when they need it, either in Canada or in their own faith, but because she was, in her own way, criticizing the Conservatives, well, the CBC put her on national TV. You know what? They're both a disgrace. For TheRebel.media, I'm Ezra Levant. Ow! We're building a studio. Help us out. Click here or visit buildthedream.ca.